Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. It's been a while. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Can hear me or not, my internet is pretty crap where I am in the middle of the of love. Hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you, Soph.
Okay, awesome. Welcome back, my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Squaddies, good to see ya. Let's go at ease. Let's do it.
It's been a while, everyone, and we hope you're all well. You've been DMing us, you've been emailing us, you've been reaching out. It's been an amazing last couple of weeks. I've loved being in London and watching the football. I got to hang out with my podcast brother from another mother. Didn't get to see Josh because he was busy at the zoo. Got to hug James at the Tolly for the before the Manchester United match. Which was just unbelievable. So thank you all for being so patient. And at the same time, for us, it's been fun. Super Kev, I think you're pretty much on every single channel in every single country right now. Mo Falla was just saying you were even on his box in South Africa, I believe, the other day.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to be on the box at South Africa again on Sunday. So get ready for me, boys. I'm going nowhere. Look, I was a bit critical of Arsenal in the first half on Sunday, I must say, because it didn't look like we got going, but second half was a little bit more like it, wasn't it? We got ourselves back and we kept a clean sheet in the second half to see us over the line. Sophie, it's about results now. And you know what? We're close. We're very close to our goal. And the goal might surprise a few, but now we're there. We want it. So let's do it.
Sometimes winning ugly is beautiful, and the Arsenal have been doing a lot of that, let's be honest. I think the Chelsea game was probably the best football that we played out of those three big ones that we won. We don't want to look in the rearview mirror and go back to Palace and Southampton and Brighton. That's done. We can only look forward now. We have the boys here. Welcome back, James and Josh, to the Highbury Squad. It's great to have you back. Let's get stuck right into this because we're going to be facing Leeds, a resurgent side under Jesse March. Yes, they lost horribly to Manchester City, but many teams always do and have, although City were on the receiving end of a horrific loss last night, which we'll touch on at the very end of the show. And, you know, the last time we faced them in the Premier League and lost was in 2003. Earlier this season, we whipped them 4-1. So let's get your squads up, guys, and let's take a look and see who starts, who sits for you. James, I'm going to start with your squad right here. I do believe, if correct me, if you guys won't correct me if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. You have one difference, Kev. They've got only one player, I believe, different in the team. So, James, talk us through it.
Yeah, so I know Ben White missed the West Ham game, but I believe, haven't really seen any team news, but I believe he is going to be back because they said, oh no, it's just a precautionary thing for this game. Tommy Asu as well, they said was cramp, so he's definitely going in. And then I think the rest of them at the moment sort of pick themselves. I know there's lots of rumours about Thomas Partey being back, but even if he is, and I know that when we bought him, he was better than any midfielder that we had at the club already, but you can't drop El Neni at the moment. For me, the guy has come in and he's done so well that you can't drop him. It's a bit like at the start of the season when Nuno come in for Tierney when he was injured, and Nuno still stayed around for a couple of games, and then obviously what happened and Tierney come back. For me at the moment, you cannot drop El Neni, and it's hard for me. I know people might be going, really? I'm like, yes, really. El Neni at the moment is doing so well that he cannot be dropped for me. You know, he got He got robbed of an assist the other day. And Nketiah, if his finishing was better, he put that on a plate for him. You know, people were yelling Pyramid Perlo. It really was. It really was.
You know, I promised I wasn't going to go back to any of those 3 horrible games that we all thought we were going to win. Josh, and I'll bring your team up too, but if only he'd played El Neni in one of those. If only he had played, was it in the Brighton game where Sambi was left in no man's land, Xhaka was left back. Anyway, no rearview mirror syndrome because I only use that to check my lipstick. Josh, if you can quick fire your team too, and then we can get stuck into the nuts and bolts with Super Kev here.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I would say only one real change. I've gone precautionary on Ben White. My assumption is I've not seen him in any training photos, so my assumption he's not available. The only other change I've gone, Smith Rowe instead of Martinelli. I think I just want to mix it up a little bit on what we're doing on that left flank, but I'm sure we can go into that in a little bit more detail as well.
Okay, so let's talk, Kev, about the lineups from the 2 lads. The difference is the Martinelli Smith Rowe, both sticking with Eddie up front, both sticking with El Neni.
I should say I've got Pepe on the right, I think, as well.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do. You do have Pepe
go.
on the right. That's a shocker. Are you just doing that deliberately to wind us up?
No, I think it's what I truly believe. Who knows? Maybe it's post-COVID talking. But yeah.
Kev, Mikel Arteta's not starting Pepe, is he?
Well, this is just my fault. I don't see Pepe starting ahead of Gabriel Martinelli or Emil Smith Rowe. I just don't see it. So if either one are fit, they start ahead of Pepe. Let's say Saka wasn't fit. I think those 2 will play. Martinelli at Leeds scored a couple of goals, looked really dangerous, running in behind from that left-hand side. I think he's going to start on that side. And we saw what Saka done, against Leeds. I think Saka starts. Listen, one thing we do know about Leeds, for all of this be no more Bielsa and this Jesse Marsh, they have to go for it. They cannot sit back. They have to go for a win. Things are going to get desperate for them. They lose this one, and their next game after that is Chelsea, right? And the way Everton went, obviously, against Chelsea themselves, that really upset the apple cart. Here's the thing I will say, though. If Ben White is if there's a remote problem with Ben White, Holding's got to play. You don't take that risk. And with the Partey situation in midfield, if Partey's fit, he sits on the bench because you don't bring him back to take that risk. We don't need to. That's been one of our more productive parts of the team and our most solid part of the team. Now, El Neni's with Xhaka in that midfield. Partey, we got time to keep Partey. Listen, we might need Partey further on down the line. Who knows? But at the moment, El Neni and Xhaka are that midfield duo that are doing us proud. So I agree with James on that one. If Partey's fit, he sits on the bench.
Okay, cool. Now there is this the Pepe argument, Josh. Kev's kind of let you know what he thinks. I'm a bit cute. Come on, explain that one a little bit.
So mine's very similar to actually what Kev said about Ben White. And Saka has had, and in every press conference in the last 2 games, Arteta said, Saka has had to come off precaution. And you know what? We've got the North London derby coming up midweek. And it's one of those that, again, don't need to take the risk against Leeds. We know that game, the North London derby, could be huge in terms of turning the tide for that 4th. So do I want a cold Nicolas Pepe going into the North London derby because Saka's overplayed and he's ended up getting an injury that is completely preventable? I think that's one of the things that I've seen from Arteta this season that he hasn't necessarily done as well as he could do, which is in terms of keeping the guys on the bench fresh. Now, he's been lucky with El Neni. He hasn't played since AFCON, and before then hadn't played at all and ended up in player of the or team of the tournament in that competition. I think he's obviously the anomaly, or well, I can't do
Anomaly.
words. That's the one I'm looking for. But there's other players that we've seen when they come in cold, it doesn't necessarily work for them. And again, Smith Rowe, he hasn't got as many minutes. Martinelli, sit him on the bench. We know that unfortunately Stuart Dallas ended up with a horrific injury in the last game. And I hope he gets a speedy recovery. But we know there's going to be a right back there that isn't necessarily as sure as Stuart Dallas. So I'd have them as an option. Smith Rowe is going to come in against a right back who's probably just as cold as he is. Give him those minutes.
There's only 4 games left. And they're every single game. This goes back to when we had 14 cup finals left. Do you remember, Kevin? We were counting this whole thing down, right? And, we haven't had the European football. We've been out of the cups for a while now. Surely, and James, I think your team reflects this a little bit more than Josh's. We've got to play our best players at this point. I don't think worrying about Saka for the North London derby. Saka has to play. He's the jewel in the crown. James?
Yeah, you lose a huge goal threat, not only scoring himself, but also the potential of assists. I mean, if you look back at the Man City game that they played at the weekend, they conceded 2 goals from set pieces. We've got, for once, thanks to the new man obviously coming in the summer, we've finally got set pieces that work. Sophie, last season, me and you would WhatsApp each other going, oh my God, why do we waste these? We might as well just give them the goal kick now instead of taking the corner, because we just used to waste them. And now we've got the highest scoring centre-back in the league with Gabriel, banging them in left, right and centre when he wants. Rob Holding's got a new hairline, scoring goals. It's a good sign. I say go for the set pieces, because you can see they're frail from them. So if we get them, you need Saka whipping them in, because his delivery's getting better and better each week, as is his Martinelli. So that's another reason why I'd have him start.
And Kev, it's really an improvement. A lot of people laughed. I think it was Liverpool with the throw-in coach laugh at teams who are looking at football from so many different aspects. Our set piece coach. I mean, there's been so many improvements. We can't deny it. No matter which side of the fence you've been sitting on all season, there have been improvements. And now when we do get a set piece or a corner, Kev, we're a threat.
We look dangerous, and that's the way it should be. I mean, we've got some big lads. We've got some good lads in both boxes who should be attacking crosses. Great to see Holding get on the score sheet. Really good. I was doing the game for Premier League Productions, and when we broke down the actual goal, Holding's goal, you see the screens on the blocks that went in before he shed his blocker, he shed his marker. It was incredible. You could see that has been worked on. So at this level and at this time, it's the really fine details that gets you through. And it seems like Arsenal are working on the fine details, which is very good. Because as James said before, we just used to stick them in there and hope. Now we've got a plan.
Yep. Before hope was our plan. Now we actually have a proper plan, which is really, really cool. Okay.
Hope's the backup now. It's not the
hope's the backup plan.
Yeah.
Let's get stuck into Leeds United and the dangers. Josh, swinging it back to you. They've got the same personnel, but Jesse March seems to have made them a little bit more solid at the back. They're not so gung-ho, even though they're still explosive going forward. They do well on the press, on the counter, but he's added an element of kind of not, they go 1-0 down, but they're still in the game. Whereas with Bielsa this season, you saw Leeds go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, and before you know it, they're leaking 4 or 5 goals. What is going to be the biggest danger for us facing this Leeds United side that we beat 4-1 convincingly at Ellen Road earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think the main factor we're going to get is, as Kev's already alluded to, the fact that they've only really got 4 games left to save their season. And as much as they can kind of think, well, they've got 2 easier fixtures. They've got Brighton at home, and then they go to Brentford on the last game of the season. So those are, in theory, the more winnable games for them. But any points you can pick up now, I think, nobody necessarily expected Everton to pick up any points against Chelsea, and they'll take that. And again, for Leeds, they've got to make sure that they pick up points anywhere. So for me, I'm looking at the danger men of Rafinha and Harrison on the wings. They're going to be the key ones there, especially if Tomiyasu's carrying something. And as much as I love Nuno, it's going to be interesting, that battle down the right-hand side of whether or not he is left caught out or if Gabriel can get across and cover, because that's where the danger man's going to be, Rafinha. And that's the key one there for me, especially now that they've got Rodrigo back. They're not necessarily playing Dan James up front, which I think was one of the things that held them back, because that kid, unfortunately, isn't necessarily a striker. He's more of just a winger trying to fill in. So, yeah, that's where I kind of see the injuries they've had earlier in the season are coming back. Calvin Phillips back in midfield as well now. And I think they're starting to build back that spine of the team. They've still got some of the problems that why they're down in that league. Firpo isn't necessarily a left back. And we've seen Meslier as an excellent goalkeeper at some points, and at other points he can be just like the Villarreal goalkeeper as well in moments. So I think it will be we'll make it look tough. We'll put it that way.
Oh, because we are the Arsenal, of course. These are the teams that that I mean, please, I don't want to go there. James, what is the danger you see with Leeds United? We really did score them under Bielsa earlier in the season. That was quite the performance. Martinelli was great that night. Whole team was really great that night. This Leeds team had been lauded in previous seasons because of the work he had done. Where could we fall short here?
It's just not giving them time. They love to have time on the ball to be able to, especially Phillips, to be able to do what he wants to do, which is distribute it to these quick players that Josh was just talking about, and hopefully either cut it across and get a goal that way, or just run straight through you and get a goal that way as well. So it's literally just cutting that all out. I mean, if we look back to our last game against West Ham, I personally thought Odegaard didn't have a great game. But then I spoke about it with somebody and he said it wasn't that he necessarily had a bad game. It was just that Declan Rice was just like a fly, just around him and just stopped him. But Declan Rice is a masterful player that just shut Odegaard completely out of it. And I think that's what we've got to do with Phillips. I think if you've got El Neni in there, you've just got to say to him, just follow him around, block off every sort of lane that he wants to go to. But just literally you, mate, just follow him the whole game and don't give him time to do what he wants to do. And that's where I think that we're probably going to shut them down and convincingly win. I think I'm not at all worried in terms of what Leeds have got against us. I think at the moment we're playing them at a good time. We're in a good run of form. They've just come back after losing 4-0. So, just capitalise on what's a good time to play them. A bit like West Ham last week. It was a good time to play West Ham, sandwiched in between these two European games. We didn't play great, took advantage of it and won. I'll have the same again, please, on Sunday.
Super Kev, you've covered a lot of games for a lot of media outlets this season. We picked our last 5 games of the season. This was one I believe you and I felt confident about. For me, it's the Newcastle away game that I am more worried about. James and I were talking about that earlier in the week as well, that game makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable. What have you seen? What do you see? Do you agree with what James and Josh are saying? Does this Leeds team worry you in the slightest, considering they're still fighting for their Premier League lives?
Well, listen, any team that has their backs to the wall are going to fight, and you have to be a little bit worried. I'm not scared of them by any stretch, but I think I'm more concerned if we get complacent. I think that's really important. Just thinking we're going to turn up and turn them over, that's not how this is done. We have to earn everything. Leeds are going to battle us, that's for sure. They're going to battle us, and we need to match them and then show our quality. Calvin Phillips in the midfield, I'm not too fussed about Calvin Phillips that much. I think it's about what we do. If we play to anywhere near like our capacity, we win the game. But if we don't, let's say for argument's sake, a bad result happens at Anfield. That piles pressure on us then to perform. A bit like last week. There was a lot of pressure on the boys last week against West Ham. So if the result goes our way at Anfield, then even more so, we've got to just go for the jugular and break the neck. We've got to bruck it because first off, we want to be out of sight. And I know Leeds are battling and they're going to be trying hard and that. But if you look at our side and you look at their side, we're in this position for a reason. So it probably goes back to the teams that were selected. We've got to pick our best 11 for now and go for it and take them out. Once we take them out, then we could start changing it if we want to. But Sophie, these 3 points are so important now. They are so important because it gets us one step closer to that promised land, which, you know, Champions League football, just hearing that music yesterday and the day before, you know, is lovely, isn't it? That's what we want. That's what we want back at Arsenal. We want it. We need it. And we better get it.
And I tell you, watching these Champions League semi-finals and even the quarterfinals, the PSG game, Madrid, I mean, last night, the sounds, the noises. And it's not that we are ready to compete in that way at that level. It's just being part of the show. You know, for the Arsenal Football Club, for these players to get European football experience, to have them taste that and to taste it with this club. And if they can keep this team together and build around these players, and we can hear that anthem, you know, home and away. It's about what that allows us then to build around what we've got. And that has always been the key, has it not, Kev? Like all this season, all we've been talking about is we know we can't win the Champions League. We know we're nowhere near City or Liverpool, but we can go in, we can have a little bit of a nibble at the table, you know, in the group stages. And it gives us the opportunity to buy better players in the summer. That is what this is all about. 100%. Nothing more, nothing less.
100% so. And, you know, we talk about the likes of Saka and Smith Rowe, Ben White going to England and seeing the Fodens and all that being in the Champions League. If they're getting Champions League football at Arsenal and we're building, hey, we've got a better chance of keeping these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're actually playing in the Champions League. No one has a divine right to win it, 100%. But if you're doing it at your club, if you're playing in these big tournaments with your club, sometimes that's all you could ask for, Soph.
Yep, totally. Okay, so I think you guys kind of answered the question, James and Josh, but there's a couple folks asking about who sits on Calvin Phillips for basically the whole game.
El Neni, he's got more mobility than Xhaka to do it.
Yeah.
I'm with Kev. I'm not sitting any player on Calvin Phillips. Maybe Odegaard, because of where Calvin Phillips takes up his position in the field. I don't want El Neni coming off from screening that back four if he needs to be there. Xhaka, we know, is going to be going out to the left to deal with Rafinha, because we know Tavares is going to be up further forward. I'd be saying exactly the same thing if KT was there as well. We know we want our fullbacks bombing on. It's for Xhaka to hold that space with Gabriel to make sure Rafinha is held, and the same on the other flank with El Neni. It should be Odegaard that's the one getting close to Phillips, because he's the one picking the ball up off that back four. And this is a team that was drilled by Bielsa. They're all pretty good footballers. So we don't need to be going about which one should we man mark. They can all play. It's just been the bit burnt out has been the main reason this season. And all those injuries is the reason that team is down where they are at this point.
Yeah.
It's not like other teams in the division that are just mercenaries or just not necessarily a great team or coached well.
They've definitely had a ton of injuries. I've replaced Vinny and Vespa barking, by the way. I've replaced dogs with frogs. I don't know if you can hear the frogs, but they're singing loud and clear. I think they're saying 3-1 to the Arsenal. I'm not quite sure, but we'll get your predictions at the very end of the show. If you guys have any questions about the game, throw them in. But I did want to shift gears with you guys a little bit, unless there's anything else about the game and the prep that you want to discuss right now. Are we cool with the setup?
I want to quickly discuss Eddie Nketiah.
Okay.
Because I thought Eddie's performance on Sunday was pretty good, especially second half. He was hunting space, etc. Really stretched the pitch for us. But it's that finishing. That's the difference. You know, when he had those opportunities, I think he had 3 good opportunities. made the keeper make one save and he missed a couple. Got to be more clinical on there. And that's why I've come out and said, although for he's done well, Eddie's not the answer. Imagine what it will be like with a recognised striker up there. Could be a huge difference.
I think the big thing with Eddie coming in.
Oh. No, go on, keep going.
So I was going to say with Nketiah coming in, is he's always seemed to. He's so nearly there, isn't he, Kev? I think with the couple of shots he got away, we got some really divisive corners from there, and I think we may have scored from one as well. Was coming from Eddie's shot, just getting Fabianski just palm it away, and he's creating those opportunities for us. But again, as you say, he doesn't necessarily score. Now, this is a team that in his head has wronged him as well. A bit like Chelsea, they wronged him. Leeds, no, for me, he bottled it at Leeds, but I think he should have stayed there the entire season. But in his head, he came back and he's improved. At Arsenal, his all-round game is better. So again, another opportunity for him to show the Leeds fans what he's all about and why he should have started games there rather than Bamford in the Championship. So yeah, I agree that he's not the guy for tomorrow, but right now he is the guy for today.
Yeah, I was at that game, James, and I've been a huge critic of Eddie. He has, however, come into the side and he's done well. Don't shoot me, everyone. I was at that match, right? And I thought his performance from some of the critics after was a bit overlauded. Because for me, if he's not finishing, he doesn't really offer much. And people were like overly crediting him for like 3 moves he made, against the West Ham defense and stuff. But there were a lot of the times where he wasn't running the channels fast enough. His movement, Kev, and it just didn't seem like he was moving quick enough sometimes for Odegaard's thinking as well. He seems to be more of that goal poacher versus, and I'm not saying he's Lacazette is better than him right now, but what I don't like about some of the narrative is that when one Arsenal player comes in and does well, it's happened with Maitland-Niles, it happened with Willock, it's happening again with Eddie, that a lot of people think he's the answer and he deserves to be given a chance. I agree with you, he doesn't. And I just see that you could see that lack of quality in his game sometimes, even though he's doing well in this team right now. There were glimpses of that lack of quality when I was watching him against West Ham at the weekend. James, your thoughts on Eddie?
Yeah, it's tough because, if we didn't get the job done, you're looking back on them 3 chances and going, you should have scored one of them. And you're also looking at it going, the teams above us have got some mighty goal difference because they've got 2 players that just fire them through everything. And you're like, if you could have got 1 or 2 of them, Eddie, that would have really helped us even more than what we've got at the moment. For me, he has to play. There were facets to his game that I saw against West Ham that I didn't know were there. I think he's gotten a bit stronger. Maybe that's because he's more confident now that he's starting. And there were, because for me, even though, old cat kicker, he's not having the best of time in his life, he's still a bloody good player. I still think Zuma's a good centre-half, but he absolutely terrorised him the other night. He gave Zuma a really, really bad time. And that, for me, especially from a player that I didn't think had that, I thought was good. And that was something I did agree with. But I think, again, like you said, a lot of the lauding was, it's because he's out of contract and it's another stick to beat Arsenal with. It can't be talking about how Arsenal have won a game. It's, I can't believe they're letting this guy go for free. Look how silly Arsenal are, even though they've won 2-1 and everything else. It was more of a, let's try and find a route where we can lay some little knives into Arsenal. So I think why it was done. But I do agree with the fact that whatever he chooses next will be a downgrade. However, for me, and I know Mikel Arteta has had 6 windows to do it, but he has not yet bought a striker. He needs to buy 2. And at least one of them, for me, I don't know if it's the rest for everybody else and everyone in the chat, one of them has to be marquee. I'm sorry, but there is a marquee centre forward in the world that's going to come to Arsenal and go, I have to sit behind him though. No way. It's not happening. It's just not happening.
It's not happening. Kev's been saying this whole time that we need 2 strikers, 8 players, 2 strikers, right, Kevin? And we've said all along, how do you attract a quality 20 a season, 15 to 20, prolific goal scorer? Prolific now is 15 to 20. It's not as easy, is it, Kev, to score goals in the Premier League? And you can't do that without Champions League football.
Yeah, 20 was the old mark. I think 15 now. You get 15 goals, you're premium. You're premium now. So, listen, I like we're being linked with Gabriel Jesus. I really like that one. I think, not only can he play striker, but he can play anywhere across the front. We've seen he's had to deal with Aguero being the main man. He's had to fit in, and he has. And I was reading a stat that in all the games he's played, his goal involvements in all of the Premier League history, he's number 4.
That's an insane stat, Kev.
That's an insane stat. Gabriel Jesus at, 23, 24? Is number 4 on the list of goals and assists in the minutes that he's played. He's number 4. So do you know what? If we can get him for 30 million, the balaclava's on again, isn't it? We're going up to Manchester to nick him. That's it. It's it's cheap money. We do need another one, whether it's a whoever it is, Darwin Núñez or SENE or whoever we look at as well. I think Jesus would be a really good addition to our squad because he can play so many different positions and he can score goals, as he's proving.
Real quick, in a nutshell, I don't get the belly aching from some fans about not wanting Jesus. I don't get that, especially for the money that Kev just talked about. I think he's the stat you just threw out is insane, Kev. I did not see that stat. I did not know that one.
Yeah. 4th.
And ever since he's been linked to us, he's been absolutely playing out of his mind as well. And like you said, a lot of those stats are coming off the bench. I mean, he hasn't started, a lot of games since he's been there, sitting behind a legend like Aguero, other players, Pep's tactics and false ninehoods. So yeah, we're going to get stuck into that a lot more. Are you yes or no, Josh, on Jesus?
Oh, that's a very big question with my background. So no, he was a very naughty boy in my.
How about Jesus then?
But Jesus, he would be my number 1 choice for a second choice striker. Let's put it that way. He doesn't necessarily fit the full profile I'd like from a modern striker that I think Arsenal need to be our first choice necessarily, because I can't see a second choice kind of target man. It wouldn't be where I'd go. I think there's definitely some options for us as the kind of marquee signing being available that matches what I think the profile of player we should be going for.
Yeah. And James, you've already given your 2 cents, but yes.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
If you have Jesus, you renew Mohammed, then you buy Abraham. Why Abraham? That's the way. All the prophets, get them in.
Oh.
Bring him
Is it
in.
Victor Moses at right back?
not Moses. Yeah, maybe leave Moses, but yeah. Jesus, Muhammad, and Abraham, please. Yeah, let's go.
That's very good, Super Kev, very good. Oh, I love it. Okay, I do want to get your guys' take, and then we'll get back real quick to our predictions, and we'll get everyone out of here. Thanks to everyone who's listening. We've missed you guys. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in and out. Otherwise, you don't want to deal with Super Kev. I tell you, Tammy, give us the digits. I don't really want to put it out there. I'm just warning you guys.
How many's in and how many likes? This is important now. This really important. We got Josh and James on.
We got 200.
And you've not seen us in a while, so let's see how much you appreciate us.
We got 230 in live chat, 40 now, and on a night where, by the way, thanks to all those listening on replay and audio, because I'm sure a lot of you are watching the Europa League semi-final matches. So yeah, Kev, 230, and Tammy's going to give us the tally on the likes while I find something that I want to read to everybody. I've lost it now. Okay, I wanted to get your take real quick on the the Kroenke, Vinay, the fan forum, you guys, and some of the quotes that have come out of the meeting. You know, Josh Kroenke talked about how he's happy with the progress and that he's happy to see fans responding. And Vinay talked about he and Mikel having a conversation about how to bring the fans and circle back and create an atmosphere, you know, at the stadium. So there's more unity, etc. They said all the right things. We have 85, Super Kev. 85, by the way.
85 likes. People.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on now. 240 odd and 85 likes.
It's not good enough, is it?
Come on.
All right. Don't let him Brock next. Okay, so here's the quote. It's been a roller coaster of a season. I say that with a smile on my face. To think back to where we were after 3 matches, Mikel and the team have done an amazing job stabilizing the ship. I want to thank you guys for sticking with us through all of the ups and downs. The support home and away has been unbelievable. I can feel and hear a whole new level of connection that's going on around the club, and it makes all the difference. We've got plans in place to continue strengthening the squad. Now having match day revenue and having fans back in the stadium has been great. We continue to provide whatever support we can for Mikel and continue to push the squad forward to achieve our goals. It's really exciting to see the women's team coming along as well. I love that quote, and I love that he included the women's team. By the way, it's going to the last game in the WSL. Come on, Arsenal. It's great to see our team pushing for the league title. We're investing in new buildings for the women's team, more matches to be played. Vinay says the one constant this season is the support from the fans. Talked about Mikel. Right, Kev, I want to get to you first because you and I did a show on the debate where we talked about the Kroenkes. And not that we were defending them. We wanted to present a turnkey picture on when they came in. Yes, when they took full control of the club, and as investors and business people, you know, the 2018 period of when they really owned the club, hence why then they would put, you know, a lot more of, you know, their own business funds into the Arsenal Football Club. So, what do you think about these statements? What do you think? You know, the one thing that jumped out at me, Kev, was like, Mikel's not going anywhere. No matter what happens, he's their guy right now. What's your take on it, Kev? What did you take from the comments?
Well, there was no surprises, that's for sure. We know, I've said it all along, Arteta's going nowhere, Sophie. They like the way he works. They like the way he's ripped that dressing room out. They like the way he wants to connect the club with the fans, etc. I think all of that really works for them. They're starting to feel and see a different Arsenal than they're used to. This is really important for them because, let's be honest, there have been owners who they've been questioned, been challenged, they're wanting them out, etc. They haven't really seen unity at Arsenal until now. So now they're seeing a bit of unity. Now that they're starting to see the team is actually starting to move forward, the plan has to be to start ramping that up. Because if the team starts performing better, you are going to see even more unity. We're starting to, let's be honest, we're starting to cheese a right few people off with our celebrations and all that, which I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm sure all the Arsenal fans love it. If the media are moaning about us, we're doing something right. We are doing something right. So I think there's key moments that are coming, Sophie. And the summer transfer window is another key for us. I know they've got plans, but you know what? Depending on who's going to be available, Sophie, we just don't know who's going to become available. If we can make a couple of splashes in that summer transfer window and fatten that squad up because we are still thin, then I think people are going to start looking at the Cronkies. Not that they're a godsend, but right, they're starting to do right by Arsenal, and that's what we want.
All right, well said, Kev. Very interesting points you are making there. Josh, this is a polarizing conversation when it comes to ownership. I think when we've seen ownership fail a lot in the last couple of years, some Arsenal fans were kind of doing a 360 a little bit and saying, well, in the end, with everything going on with, Abramovich and Usmanov, did we end up actually getting quite lucky having the Cronkies? But what's your take?
I mean, yeah, anybody that has followed me has known I've been very much on the side of the Cronkies in terms of what they have done at Arsenal. I think in terms of, especially since full ownership, if we're going from that line in the sands, then what they have done is brought the club forward. There's a lot of people who I think will never turn. They will always have that, I hate the Cronkies, I hate the foreign ownership, I hate silent stand because of what he's done in other franchises. I think they're always going to be there. But from what we can see and what they've been saying, and where I saw kind of Arsenal for this season, I think the target was Europa League, to be honest. It was getting to Europe. Champions League was a next season goal. It was very much get it back into Europe and then we'll push on from there. We were very much ahead of progress at that point of view, and we're in a good place. And I think with all the stuff that Josh is now doing in terms of trying to re-engage with the fan base, I think COVID got in the way hugely, being caught on the other side of the States and not necessarily, or other side of the Atlantic, not being able to get into the country for a while and be able to do that kind of fan liaison. I think that's huge, and a big part of what they can see is, they've managed to piss off quite a few people when they moved the Rams out of St. Louis to back to LA. And I think they're seeing they don't want to make that mistake again in terms of losing a core part of a fan base. And they learn from mistakes, and that's what we want to see. There are owners out there, and you named two that for political reasons aren't allowed to operate anymore. But there's definitely other owners out there who are far worse that we can have. The Cronkies are probably top 5 best owners in the league, which tells you how bad every other owner is at every other club. Like Burnley at the moment. You see what's going on there, that they've got a huge loan leveraged against them that could almost bankrupt them if they go down. Spoken about Everton. I think Norwich, we know in terms of their ownership, very stable, but they're never going to go above their ceiling as well. I think United, now that's a club that's run badly and the owners are taking money out of the club. We're moaning about owners not putting money in the club. There's a team that's even worse, stripping assets out of there. And I think that's the thing, that looking at it holistically is we're not actually in a bad place with who we've got as an ownership group.
All right, James, what are your thoughts? Vinay's comments that I thought were the most interesting were talking about, where the being ahead versus not being where we really want to be. It was kind of a juxtaposition comment, wasn't it, where he talked about where our progress is right now versus where we actually want to be. And the actually want to be part, I think, helped with his first comment in terms of, being maybe where we're at right now. What's your take on these comments and kind of the fan reaction, your reaction?
They're brilliant at this stuff. I've said for ages, you might as well employ Captain Birdseye at Arsenal, because we can flog waffle better than anybody. We're great at it. We're absolutely great at it. All this about the fans and everything, a lot of it has been that people haven't been to football and they're coming back. And you know what? There's a lot of players there now at Arsenal that are likable as well. You get more of an affinity with the players that was sort of gone with some of the characters that were there previously, and that helps a lot, because I think they care more. Before, you've had characters in there that I don't think really knew what it meant to put that shirt on and to play for Arsenal, and they do now. But for me, there was this whole thing weeks ago about that we've hired this company to do this Arsenal DNA, and they're headed up by a Chelsea fan or something, and they're coming in and doing all this. There were people there that you made redundant that had been there for years that could have done that for you for free. People like Kevin, he'd go in there for free and tell them what it means to be Arsenal. He does it on here every night with you. Free. You could have got fans in there. I'll go in there and tell these people what it means to me if that's what you need. If they need a kick up the arse to know how important Arsenal is to people, I've got evenings free. I'll do it.
Well, James,
I want actions. I want actions. The words are great, but that's it. They've done words for too long. Now, what you've said's true. They are going to back this manager. Whether I'm happy with that or not, I'll wait until we will see where we are in the season and we'll go with it then. But if we get that top 4, then please give him what he needs, because he got his recruitment wrong before. But him and Edu, I believe, have turned a corner on that and have done very, very well. So I trust them to at least to get the recruitment right, to not only possibly keep us as a top 4 team, but sustain being a top 4 team. And I know a lot of people want experience in there, but I don't think that's what we're going to do either. I think you're going to look at more people that are about 23 to 26, 27 than people that are 30, 31, etc. Because they're looking at, look, Klopp signed for another till 2026. Guardiola's maybe signed till 2026. So in this 2 or 3 years when they eventually leave, and then our players are going to be 27, 28, like these Liverpool players are now, and some of these City players are now, bang, that's when we slap it. That's when we go. And that's what I want to see. Don't tell me you're going to do it. Do it. Because I've had words for 50, since 2004.
Very well said, James.
Well said, James. Well in. And you're right. We would all do it for free. Let's be honest. We would.
I couldn't understand.
To do that.
Yeah. What's an outside company going to tell you about the culture of Arsenal? Who what are they going to do?
But we've got to remember, James, when you're dealing with a entity like Arsenal, these things have to be all reported and in a nice binder, and these things, they don't want to be hearing it raw.
It's got to have an Adidas badge on, so it can be
exactly. It comes all nicely presented. If we go in, we're telling it from the heart. These guys are going to be doing it as corporate.
Yeah,
but
they should be getting that from the fans, not having to go in the club to do it. They should be out in the stands speaking to fans to get it.
Real quick before we do our predictions, Josh, because I don't want Kev to answer this question, and James, you touched on it a little bit, is Vinay's other comment about wanting to bring other ex-players closer, right? So I was at West Ham at the weekend, and I got to do it, I got to have a cool experience. I was in the club area and stuff, and I was so, look, please accept this how I'm saying it, Arsenal fans. I was so impressed with West Ham's setup. I really was. Now, I also had the same experience at the Arsenal. There's no ex-players walking around, talking to people, just hanging out, doing their thing. They're in a box at the game, at the Man United game, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. And if you run into them, then it's a thing. But, they have these ambassadors, they come up on stage, they have a word, they're doing really good things. I mean, their entire setup, the entire game day experience was just really A1. And I commend West Ham for how they execute that. And as a fan, Josh, I would love to see more Kevs on game day. I would love to see Tony Adams have a bigger role. I've heard them say this about our ex-players before, and this is the one part that really pisses me off. When are you actually going to do it? You used to blame Arsene Wenger for not being able to do that. Well, he's been gone quite a while now. Josh, what's your thought?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it depends if whether or not Per Mertesacker, Mikel Arteta, Edu are all ex-players, or are they just not the right ex-players at the club? We have been bringing in ex-players since the Cronkies have got in. And what I want to do is bring in ex-players, not for the sake of bringing in ex-players as well. They've got to be doing a job that they can basically do. And yeah, we've got a lot of Arsenal people, Kev included, who are media trained. Perfect for coming in and doing that kind of role. I want them to bring value as well as just not being a name that we parade around. Do I necessarily want Thierry Henry in when he was destabilizing the club by aligning himself with the owner of Spotfiy? Not necessarily. A bit of a bad egg from that regard. The fans, we don't really care, but actually looking at it from how healthy the club is, again with Patrick Vieira and Dennis Bergkamp, all aligned themselves with someone that started to destabilize our club midway through the season. And to be honest, with the way Henry left as well, Cesc Fabregas left as well, what kind of ex-players are we wanting to bring in? And that's the point that I kind of want to see. And I think we can build that, but it's about making sure that they align with the values. And I know people will hate it, that align not only with the values of Arsenal, but the values that the KSE have got, because ultimately they're the one that's signing the paycheck. And not necessarily towing a company line, but there's definitely, I think, they are bringing in more ex-players into suitable roles as well. And I think it's only time.
Well said, Josh. I agree with you, because Kev and I had beef with Thierry and even with Patrick, and Dennis aligning themselves with a takeover at a time where we really needed unity. They also are entitled to their opinion. They want to be part of it. Who knows what they were promised? Yeah. But there are a lot of players outside of the Thierry Henrys, the Patrick Vieiras, who have played for this club and love this club and have done well for this club, And it doesn't necessarily mean that they went on to be invincibles, but did really good things for the Arsenal. And I really do hope that, because there's a young fan base that needs to know our history as well. We need to keep that alive.
Yeah, and I'd say, Kev, sorry, you're not number one on my list of ex-players I want to see at the club right now. You're definitely second, but first is David O'Leary to be having a role, especially on the board. I feel like he has got that experience across English football, as well as being one of,
he's an Arsenal man as well, Josh.
Absolutely. Arsenal man through and through.
Through and through.
And that's the ex-player that I think should be in there. And I know he's not going to be on the top of, especially a lot of, I would say, 30-year-old millennial Arsenal fans. He's not going to be the top of our list of ex-players we want to be seeing coming in. They were talking about Thierry's, the players from our era that we want to see come in. But for me, the strongest candidate out there that for me, I still don't understand why he's not on the board, is David O'Leary.
Well, great shout, Kev. You've said that before as well.
I've said it before. Look, at the end of the day, the Cronkies run the show, and it's their decision if they want somebody like that on the board. Because, if you get David O'Leary on the board, he's very powerful. With the fan base, he's very powerful because of what he's done at the club, etc. And sometimes ownership, when you're a billionaire, you don't want anybody on the board who's going to be more popular than you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a tough one. But just going back to what you said about the match day experience, Sophie, we're not talking about getting roles and on the board or anything like that. The match day experience at Arsenal should be a hell of a lot better. There should be people from every era in and around, talking to fans on the concourse, speaking to them inside the bar areas and stuff. That's what it should be, as far as I'm concerned. Because you can make somebody's day just by having a 5-minute conversation, who never expected to meet you and have a conversation, etc. So I think, West Ham are doing it right. Arsenal can do it a lot better. So, I didn't want to digress from what you said, Josh, but the point of the matter was the match day experience at West Ham was so much more improved than Arsenal's, when really that shouldn't be the case.
Sorry, there's a delay.
Yes,
Can you guys
that's
hear?
right.
Yeah. Okay. So no, I agree with you, Kev. I agree with everything you said there. Right. Before we get predictions for Leeds, and we're going to carry on this conversation as well, you guys. There'll be a lot more meat to the bone on this one because it's a never-ending one. So Rocky, we're so sorry that you lost your dog. Love to Rocky. He's in the chat. Everyone show Rocky some love. He named his dog after, of course, the legend that is David Rocastle. And we all love dogs, and we're sorry for your loss. So lots of love from everyone at the squad, Rocky. Let's get our predictions in. Okay, Josh, I'll start with James.
Hey, I'm going for Arsenal 3, Leeds 1.
Josh.
Well, I've gone Arsenal 3, but Leeds 0. We're at home. We love a clean sheet. We're all right.
Okay. Kev?
I'm going for 3-0. So 3-0 Arsenal.
Okay, I'm going for a 3-1 as well. Maybe another goal from Xhaka this weekend. Bold prediction. Another header from Rob Holding. Who knows? As long as they go in, we don't care, do we, Kev?
We don't care. And you know what? Wouldn't it just be fitting if Eddie put them to the sword? It would just be fitting.
It would just be perfectly football if that happened, Kev.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Karma. A bit of karma come back.
Absolutely. Well, look, it's been absolutely phenomenal being back with all of you. 300 plus in live chat right now. You know what to do.
Caress it and pass it in the corner for the like. Come on, give us those likes.
Split the defense like Odegaard. Come on, everyone.
Sophie, I'm not happy. You know that. 240 odd before and only 85 likes.
It was 300 plus now, Kev.
Yeah, well, there should be minimum 150 odd. Minimum.
Right. Oh, we're at 140. So you're going to get what you want. Yeah.
Come on. Make me happy. Come on.
All right. 150. I hope Gooner Russ has had his tea. He and Jen.
Listen,
Jen, we're having a domestic.
Jenny, check him, will you? Check him.
I love it. Absolutely brilliant. Right. That's
I
it.
need to
That's all we
meet
got
Jenny.
time.
If Jenny's as nice as Russ and Luce is, then I'm in for a treat. I can complete the hat trick then, because both of them were top tier the other week. It was lovely to spend time with them both.
Very nice. Kev was absolutely shocked that Gooner Russ bought me a half pint as well, by the way. I mean, that was...
it was only half, yeah, that's fine.
It was only a half.
I was shocked, but no.
He did like that video at Wembley. He scooped it, he got it from... He got the bar mat and just
all
shook
the
it.
Fluff,
All
the fluff off the others. Love you, Russ.
Listen, everyone, Absolutely. Don't forget to tell all your friends about Highbury Squad. It's coming to the end of the season. It's been an amazing season for us. We'll get to all that. We've got another big show coming up ahead of the North London Derby. Keep your eye out on the YouTube community page and our Twitter page to find out when the next live show is. Who knows? I may or may not be back with you tomorrow night presenting Kevin Says questions. He's already sent them to me. I already have them. Kev is working again tomorrow night, the hardest working man in showbiz. So he's got 3 amazing questions lined up for you. So you better come prepared and you better be ready. Josh and James, let the world know where they can find you. Go on, Josh.
Well, if you can't find me at your local zoo, or with COVID, as it was the last couple of weeks I haven't been on, you can find me on Twitter at JoshTheHuman23. And you could also potentially find me on a Burkout Wonderland, although I've already said to them I probably won't be on for the rest of the season with moving house and haven't sorted internet out yet. So
You
who
guys make
knows?
Danny so mad. You guys make Danny
Someone-
so
Someone has to. I mean, this is the only issues he's got in his life is dealing with herding the cats that is the ABW cast and crew.
That's
But
hilarious.
they are currently live at the moment as well, so you can always sneak over there after the show. Give them a little thumbs up.
Okay, well done. Nice. Go visit our mates over at Burkamp Wonderland for sure. Mr. James Johnson, tell everyone they can find you.
Yeah, just at LLCoolJames91 on Twitter, and then literally all my links are in the bio, the Purely Arsenal FP, and my own dead YouTube. If you want to watch stuff from 2016 where I have short hair and talk rubbish, go watch it. It's there. If you want to, if you're like, oh, what did James think of the Premier League in 2016? It's there if you want to watch it. It is there.
No hiding place, James, is there?
Oh my God,
No,
absolutely
no.
top shelf. All right, Super Kev, why don't you take the gang out?
All right. Well, Sophie, thanks again. I know you're away. You're with your family. So thanks for putting this together. James, Josh, always good to have you on the tactical. Always good to talk Arsenal with you and get your predictions, etc. And thanks to you, squaddies, for joining us. Or what is it, 300 odd of you coming in and joining us and hitting the likes and getting the likes up. I truly appreciate it. Sophie does and the boys do. But you know what? Nothing is better than Arsenal getting 3 points against Leeds this Sunday. Against Leeds. We've got to smash them up. We've got to deal with them. So, squaddies, always remember, tell the people you love them, and take good care of yourself wherever you are. So, squaddies, on Dickiebo Thursday, at ease, squaddies.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.